Good morning. Good morning to all the beautiful women in Women of Light. And if you're watching this on something else, then good morning to you as well. Whether you're watching this on YouTube or on my business page, Elizabeth Elenor, the Spiritual Warrior. This is my first pause with Elizabeth Elenor, so really looking forward to sharing with you some insights and some wisdom just on living your life the way you choose to, and living in your highest state here on the planet. So before I go any further, if I have never had the pleasure of meeting you, my name is Elizabeth Elenor, and I'm a conscious creation coach. I support mainly women. I sometimes work with men as well to connect in with what I call their superconscious, their intuition, and discover and learn more about and choose to live the life that they love and have more of what they want and less of what they don't want. So here we go. This is the very first session. I was a little bit late on. I went to the gym for the first time in ages today. So today I wanted to talk about, this morning I wanted to talk about one of my foundational processes that I really is quite powerful, and it seems very simple. So I want to talk about the three powers, but in a more complex understanding. So one of the things about pause is I would like for it to be more about what I call the four choices. So I choose to live the life I love, I choose health and vitality, I choose to live to be the predominant creative force in my life, which we'll talk about more in a minute, and I choose to live my true nature and purpose. So they will be like the umbrella of the discussions that we're going to be having. And so I want, talking about the three powers, so if you have never heard any of my stuff before, the three powers is power, powerless, and empowerment. And the whole premise of the three powers is an energetic understanding, is understanding where you're putting your energy at any given time. So another way of putting power and powerless, because power in this instance is force, energy out, aggression, is a dominance, right? And powerless is a submission, is a process of submitting, but powerless can also be a victim energy. So I would like to talk more about dominance and submission, because at any given time, when you're in a place of empowerment, when you are really truly in your empowered state, when you're connected to your higher self, your intuition, and what I call your superconscious, when you're in that place, you are at any given time are dancing with somebody else and their energy. Okay, so you might be in a conversation with someone, you're in a discussion at work, and you are maybe the boss, or maybe you're just an employee, for example, and at any given time, those two, dominance and submission, when you're in a place of empowerment, you can dance in this beautiful conversation, and neither party feels like they are being taken advantage of or overpowered or disconnected in some way to the conversation, feeling undervalued, overwhelmed, stress, anxiety, all of those things, right? And so I'm just going to fix my chair because it keeps on going down. I need to get a new one. And so when you're in a beautiful conversation, at any given moment, your energy is going out to somebody or it's going in with reflection. So in a way, that's the powerless, right? And so that is, if it's in a dysfunctional fashion, you will find that someone is overpowering you in the conversation, or someone is or you're feeling powerless in the conversation. So throw into the comments. If you're watching the replay, please put #replay. Would love to be able to say hello to you if you're watching. And if you are watching right now, throw into the comments if you know that feeling that I'm talking about. We are predominantly energetic communicators. We talk with our energy first, and I have always said to people that that my first language is energy. Well, most people's are, but they're actually unaware of it. So throughout this week, I would love for you to feel your energy and where it is at any given moment. Because when you are sitting in a place of disconnection to your higher self, to your superconscious, to your empowered being, when you are disconnected from that part of yourself, you will definitely be in either a power situation where you're aggressive and you're throwing out to everyone else, you know, making excuses about who you are or that it's their fault, and blaming others and dominating others in an aggressive way because you're hurt in some way and you're disconnected to yourself. Or, and this is, you know, a lot of women find this is the one that they are in mainly, is in this powerless state where you're victimized, where you're put down, where you you know, you can find yourself in a situation where you're not being able to receive your worth, or you're undervalued, and you are very submissive, so in a very negative way. So you withdraw from situations, you don't get your turn when it's, you know, time to talk, or you withdraw in any situation because it's the way that your conditioned response is. So I'm just going to pause for a moment because there's a few things that I actually share, a few things that I language that I would love to talk more about, and that's conditioned response, for example. Conditioned response is that we have been raised to, we're individual separate beings, right? And we came to this planet and individualized. As soon as we were born, we came into this body, and we started recognizing ourselves as individual. Maybe not straight away, because a baby is still very spatial in their awareness, and the first 2 or 3 years they've still got that very spatial awareness, and in a very their mindset or their brain waves is in a very hypnotic, suggestive process, because as we're learning how to smile, and we're learning how to talk and use our mouth to talk, and we're learning how to use our hands, and we're learning how to interact and make eye contact, and all of these things that we're learning. And we're also learning what's right and wrong in the planet, because we're living. Well, what happens is, up to 7, all of this information. So I want you to have a think about where you are in your, your childhood, how you were raised. If you can think about what it was like from 0 to 7. Most of us don't remember what it's like at 0, right? But from most of us can sort of remember being around about 7 years old. And so think about the conditions that you were in, your family conditions, whether you were the youngest or the oldest or in the middle somewhere, how many kids were in the family, whether you had a loving mother or an absent father, whether you, all of these conditions that happened, that you were then, you took in all of this information. And unfortunately, most of us are still living in those conditions, because our subconscious locks that in. This is the way it is, this is the way it is, this is the way it is. And so here we are as adults, and unconsciously we have these programs or these conditioned responses that we are still running in the background. Like a computer has all these programs and all these this software running in the background that we're unaware of. The same with us. So these can be conditioned responses to lash out. It was easier for us, we learnt to lash out when we felt victimized, or when we felt we weren't getting what we needed. If we didn't feel significant, we stood up and like, see me, see me, see me. Or someone else may have not felt significant, and so they withdraw, right? And don't see me, I'm invisible, don't look at me. Who resonates to any of those things? Because throw it in the chat if you feel like you are more aligned to that powerless or submissive energy than you are to the dominant energy, because it depends on your personality type, and it depends also on your condition, programming or responses that you have now that are running in the background. So here we are, we're living on this planet, and we want to create this beautiful place, and we want to create the life that we love, and yet as we're moving through and living our life, we've got these programs running in the background, and we keep going back to them unconsciously. So to elevate, to move into that empowered place where we are aware and observing our conditioned responses, and we are still able to shift and move into being the creative, warriors, or the creative goddesses that we are. That's when you're in an empowered space, when you're aware of what's going on in the background, and you can still maneuver and focus on what it is that you'd like to create instead. So who's ready for that? Who wants to shift into living the life that they love, and being more aware of their energy and where they're at any given time? I'm just going to check, because I want to see if I'm on. Yes, I'm here. It's lovely. So as we move through this week, I would love for you to look at what's going on with your energy. It's as I said before, it's very simple. There's 3 powers, right? And I'm going to go through them in a little bit more detail. There's 3 powers, and at any given time you're in one of them. So the more you're aware of who you are and what your conditioned response is and where your energy is at, the more likely you are to be able to refocus when you, okay, there I am again. I've done it again. Let's shift that and focus on what it is that I'd love to create in my life. And so, you know, any given time you want to make a choice, and you've got a choice. We actually are, you know, very blessed to be able to have a consciousness that goes, once we get it, once we understand it, and once we're aware of where we are in any given moment, we can then maneuver and shift that and make the choice to do something differently, right? So let me go through the 3 powers so that you've got a little bit more of a breakdown of them. So powerless is pretty obvious. Most people see someone when they're being powerless. Even their energy, you know, the way they move and they shift and they're looking down and they're hunched back. You know, as anyone on here, like it's I've heard it many times, so most of you would have heard it as well. Anyone that's a perpetrator, they often say that they can see their victim because their energy is so low. They're hunched over, they're not, you know, they're looking down, their energy is withdrawn, right? So any powerless situation is the victim withdrawing from a place of shame sometimes. Self-loathing is another one. Withdrawing from a place of I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I'm insignificant. So there's a difference, because sometimes you can withdraw because that's what's needed in the situation, right? But withdrawing from a place of powerlessness is a conditioned response of I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I don't belong, and so I'm going to hide from this situation. Unfortunately, I would hate to be a child in this day and age, with social media and phones and stuff. I want to tell you a little story, just to give you an example of powerlessness. I was once, you know, a few years ago, someone had invited me, it was Easter time, I think, and someone had invited me to their church to check it out. So I went to this church, and there was all the kids, all the teenagers were in the first and second rows, and I was on the side a bit further back, and there was a young girl, I think she must have been about 14 or 15, and she was in the front row. And because it was new, it was Easter, it was holidays, they were doing some fun stuff, and they were asking questions, and the congregation had to answer, and the guy, priest or minister, whatever they call them, I think it's minister, the minister would put a red flag up or a green flag to say whether they got, you know, the answer right. And so he asked this question, and the young girl had answered, and I heard her answer, and then everyone else answered, and what she answered was wrong. And so he put up the flag. The very first thing she did, she picked up her phone and started typing. She completely withdrew, and she just disconnected completely. That is feeling powerless. And if we can share this information with our young girls and let them know that, they're just in a process and they're going to come out the other end. I may do, in fact I will, on another pause, I'm going to do the heroine's journey, or the hero's journey, but because we're women, the heroine's journey, because it's so important for us to know, right? So that's feeling powerless, is totally withdrawing, right? Power is quite obvious. It's overtaking, it's pushing out, it's aggression, in this situation anyway, in my story. It's forceful. It can also be passive aggressive, like it's a manipulative, coercive. It's getting your own way at the detriment of others. So a lot of people sell in their business through this process. In fact, a lot of sales training has been to manipulate and coerce, even when you know that you're doing it from a place, like your business may be great and you've got a great service or a great product. If you're being taught to manipulate or to coerce someone, you're in your power and you're powering over somebody else energetically, right? I feel personally we're shifting out of that vibration and into a more harmonious way of selling, where there's a cohesion and a synergy between people, to show them and remind them who they are, so that they can come from an obvious choice of whether they choose to work with you or buy your product or whatever. That's another story and another time, right? So power is overpowering at any given time, right? And then on top of that, this beautiful place of empowerment, and that's where we're all choosing to go to. I would say, let me know in the comments if you're choosing empowerment as your 2022 commitment to yourself this year. I would love to know if that's what you would like to choose. So empowerment is a beautiful state, is a place of observation. It is not giving, wait a minute, it is giving, but it doesn't give from a place where it is depleted, because it's got its own internal source of energy. So it's self-generated. It doesn't take, though it can be forceful, right? When you're in your empowered place, you can be really strong and decide, this is what I choose, this is who I am, and this is what I want, right? So if you've heard my story before, if you've watched me for a while, you'll know my little story about the lioness, because I love this story. I feel like this is the way to explain empowerment the best. So imagine a beautiful lioness. She's laying out in the savannah, and she's got all these cubs with her, and they're playing and they're hanging around, and she's just enjoying herself, right? She's fed well, and the sun's beautiful and everything's going well, and there's no danger around or anything like that. So these little cubs, and they're hanging out and they're playing and they're biting her tail, and they're mucking around behind her and they're biting her tail, and just mucking around. She's totally fine, right? Until she's not. Because a lioness knows her boundaries. She actually knows who she is. She's got this real strength to her. So I would love for you to go and look up YouTube and check out the energy of a lioness, right? Because this beautiful, solid, confident, strong energy that exudes out of a lioness. She knows who she is. She's been raised to understand who she is, right? So she's got all these cubs, and all of a sudden she's not good with them playing and biting her tail anymore, right? So she turns around and she swipes. Now those cubs, they back off. They know they've overstepped mum's mark, right? And so they back off. Now they don't back off because they've been raised to feel powerless around their mother. They back off because they know mum's boundaries. They still feel loved, they still feel honoured, they just know and respect, oh, we've gone past mum's boundaries, we need to back off and respect her boundaries, right? The other thing that she does, the other thing that she doesn't do is she doesn't then carry on and whinge to her other lioness friends that her kids are little brats. She doesn't take the PlayStation off them. She doesn't ground them for 3 weeks. She doesn't do any of that. She doesn't, passive aggressively not talk to them for the next month. All of those things she doesn't do, because when you're in your empowered place, you stand strong, you know your boundaries, you know who you are, you set your boundaries, you say, hey, that's it, I'm done. And then she goes back to just enjoying herself in the sun, because she's not holding on to it. She doesn't need to hold on to it. She's shared, she's spoken her truth, she's explained, you've overstepped the mark, and then she's back to being who she is. There's no need for her to overpower or to feel less than, or to be angry and aggressive, or to whinge and complain to anyone else. All of those things are when there's triggers that are old patterns that cause you to feel like you need to survive. So who understands the 3 powers? I know that there's so much more to it, and my clients are actually, as they've been going along, getting more and more. There's more and more depth to it, right? Because when you can really look at the energy that's going on in your world and say, okay, I just overpowered that. I became the victim, and I'm powerless in that situation. When you can understand that and come from that place of empowerment instead, you can change your whole world and your focus, and your life will be amazing. You'll start living the life you love. And so that's where I'm going to leave you, is with a little bit of play and fun. This week, be aware of your energy. Where is it? How is it feeling? Am I being, am I withdrawing? Do I feel like a victim in this situation? Have I lashed out because I'm not getting my way? Am I, sulking? Am I overwhelmed, feeling anxious? All of these things are indicators that you're not in your higher self, your empowered state, and you're not choosing what it is that you would like to create in your world. So that's me for this week. I hope you enjoyed this first session. Please put in the comments what you got out of this, what something that might have triggered you even, or you know, any wisdom that you can share with others, because this is a community of women to support each other and understand and process together so that we can move forward in 2022 in a beautiful place. So thank you so much for coming on and watching. I really, really appreciate it. I don't take that lightly. I know that time is very valuable, so I really, really honor that you've spent this time with me. And I might just end with, if anyone has noticed or is interested, we have a 7-day challenge going on. Today is day 2. So 7 days of manifesting your dreams in 2022. If you're interested in joining, the first one was live streamed last night into this page. Well, actually, you might be watching somewhere else. So into the Women of Light Movement Facebook group. It was live streamed. If you're interested, go in and watch that. The next session will be at 11 o'clock today. If you're interested in joining us, please put yes in the comments, to put yes 7 days, and we will get the links to you so that you can join us. You will have to watch that first session prior to the next one, because we did a meditation called the Land of Plenty, and we're going to break that down into what the choices are we've got today. So you will have to watch that first. Take care, everyone. Love to you. See you next week. Or on Wednesday, we have Wednesday Wisdom, and I interview a new woman every week. So if you're interested in being interviewed and promoting yourself in this group, then get in contact with me. I always love to share the beautiful collaboration of women that we've got in here. So if I haven't interviewed you before, or it's been a long time, please reach out. I think we're booked out until February at the moment, but we can definitely get you a spot soon. So take care. Love to all. Enjoy your week.